Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Janae and I'm the owner of Confidently You Creations, and I upload videos every Tuesday if I get the chance to. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but I upload a video every week, so push the subscribe button so you don't miss when I upload a video. Okay, so for today's video we are going to be making a snow globe tumbler. I will show you from the beginning to the end how I create a snow globe tumbler. Everything that I use will be listed in the description box below. So I guess that's enough talk. Let's get started. Alrighty guys, so first we're going to start by disassembling our snow globe tumbler. It is also known as a storyboard tumbler, so I might interchangeably say them both, storyboard tumbler or snow globe tumbler, whichever one. All right, so you're going to take that white paper out. We don't need that, and you can throw it away. And then we are going to take the plastic off of the stainless steel part. It does take some elbow grease in order to pop it off, as you kind of saw there. So be prepared to pull and tug on that a little bit. Alrighty, so we have prepped our tumbler. I have sanded it with my 60 grit sanding block and washed it with soap and water, and also put some alcohol on it to get any of the debris of the stainless steel off that we sanded. So now we're going to place some painter's tape on the rim of the cup to where when we go to spray paint and epoxy, this will not get on the rim. We will not be sanding, spray painting, or epoxying that rim at all. Alrighty, so I'm just going to speed it up just a little bit. It's quite easy to put tape on the top part. You just want to make sure you have it fully covered and none of the rim showing, because you don't want to get any spray paint on it. And then the same thing for the bottom. It doesn't really matter for the bottom as much because it will be covered, but just to kind of keep it clean. Then we're going to tuck in our painter's tape to where we can put it on our turner. Alrighty, so for the next part, I went ahead and spray painted it with Rust-Oleum's gold, metallic gold spray paint. I gave it 2 coats, so I let 1 coat dry for about 10-15 minutes, and then I went in with a second coat. And so now it's ready for our epoxy. We are going to lay just 1 coat of epoxy on it. If you find that it's too thin, or you have some bubbles, or just some, breakage in the epoxy, then you can add another coat. But I did 1 nice thin coat on top of the gold spray paint, and epoxy is self-leveling. So it'll look like, because we don't have a glitter on this tumbler, we're not glittering it, we're just going to do a solid color. So since you're not placing any glitter on it, you'll feel like it's like streaky, but I promise it's not. It'll self-level on its own. And then you can see me there trying to get it nice and smooth right underneath the lip of that cup. So I'm just taking my nail and kind of smoothing out right underneath that rim, because you don't want it to be like a bump or like a step, I guess you want to call it there. So you want it to be nice and flush from underneath the rim to the rest of the cup. So we're going to let that turn for about 6 to 8 hours. And then now we have our nice dry layer of epoxy that is ready for our decal. So I went ahead and printed my decal. It says everything I touch turns to sold. It does look like gold. Everybody's been telling me that. I have to change the font. But it says everything I touch turns to sold. Normally I would keep the paper on the back side of this, but I had to, skip through because the font is so skinny that it was giving me a hard time lifting it from the paper. So I had to lift it all at the same time, because I do the Hinge method. I would place it on the cup, lift one side, cut the white paper, and then, do the same thing to the other side, but I could not do that with this one. So normally I would not just freehand it and just put it on there like that without the white paper. So yeah, but anyway, so, and plus this Cricut transfer paper was just giving me a hard time. I don't know why it was giving me such a hard. You can see that I could not get it up, and then you will see that it happens to me several times. So maybe it was just, you know, one of those days. But that's the reason why you see me not do the Hinge method with this one, was because the font was so super thin and I was having a hard time getting it off of the transfer paper. So you want to, again, slowly take your transfer paper off, because the font that I used was really thin and I didn't want to risk ripping any of the letters off. So I slowly took it off. So now I'm going to put the decal on the back, and I did it off camera because I'd had to do a lot of measuring, but I'll show you exactly what I did to make sure it was even. I didn't want to have my arms all in the way and all that stuff. So what I did was I measured the middle of the cup. So I felt like, you know, I'm just going to pick a spot and that's going to be the middle. And I wrapped it around to where I'm putting my decal. So it's about a little less than 9, give or take 9 inches. And this is a tapered cup, so just be mindful of where you're, you know, placing your measuring tape. So the middle is about, give or take, 4.5 inches where I place the middle of the other decal. And hopefully that makes sense. 4.5, you know, on the other side, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so now at the top, I'm just measuring how far the decal is from the top, which was, give or take, about 2 inches on both sides. So I know that it's in the middle and it's even. So I'm ready to go ahead and take it off. So this is the Hinge method that I'm referring to. I will take off one side and then I will cut the white paper off, and then I will snugly pull on that side and just press it down. And the same thing for the other side. And I'm struggling again, trying to get this Cricut transfer paper off of my cup. Again, this was just one of those days that I just could not get it. And then the decal didn't want to come off either, so I had to kind of give it a little tug. Anywho, so that's the Hinge method I was talking about. And now I'm just going to take the other side off, and then I'm going to pull and stick it onto the cup. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and lift it off carefully, to where we're not ripping any of our letters, and voila. Now we have it placed evenly on both sides, and now we're ready to place 2 coats of epoxy. So now we're going to prep it again by putting our painter's tape across the top, again to where we do not get any of the epoxy on top of the lip. I'm just going to make a ledge for it, you know, so I can easily take the blue paper off when I'm done. Alrighty, so we have 2 coats of epoxy on top of our letters, our decal. Nice smooth coats, no sanding for this at all. And so now we're going to take our crafting knife, and right underneath the lip there is going to be some epoxy where it got underneath there while you were epoxying the cup. So you just want to very carefully take your craft knife and scrape away any of the residue. You want to make sure to do this part because when you go to place your plastic, the snow globe part over it, it will not fit. It's like a flush fitting, you know, for the plastic and the tumbler part. It has to fit perfectly. So you will have to clean up every bit of epoxy underneath. If not, it's going to pop up and it won't stay. Even then whenever you go place your epoxy to seal it, it will not stay. So this part is very, very, very important. I have accidentally not done this part, and then I went all the way and I put the epoxy to seal it, and it would keep popping up. So this part is really, really, really important that you do. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some acetone, and clean up the rim where we did our cleanup, our scraping. I was going to say scraping, but I was trying not to be so aggressive with scraping. We're going to just clean up the rim, and you want to do this part before the end, because when you accidentally get acetone on plastic, it is not pretty. And again, I had to learn it the hard way. I went to go clean up the tumbler at the end. It was all nice and pretty, and I had the plastic on there, and I went to go put acetone on it, and it completely ruined the plastic. Like, it was smudgy and it was horrible. So do this part before you complete it. Okay. Wipe off any debris that you have on your tumbler, because once you put the clear part on, you can no longer go in and wipe it off. Okay. So this is me trying it on to make sure it fits, or if I had to take it off and do more cleanup with my crafting knife. But it fit flush, it fit perfect. I did not have to go back in and do any more cleanup. So I did a nice little push, and it went on there just fine. So now we're going to take it off. Again, you may have to use some elbow grease to take it off, but please be careful when you go to take these off, because you can scratch the inside of the plastic and it will be a wrap. You'll have like a wave, like a line in the plastic that won't come off. So just be very careful whenever you're taking them off to not scratch the inside of the snow globe part. Okay, so now what we are doing is placing epoxy on the outside of the rim of the snow globe part, the part where we went to try it on to see if it fits. Not the base part, but the top part of the snow globe plastic. Okay, so now we're just going to go all the way around with just a little bit, a smear layer of epoxy. If you do get some of the little stringy epoxy that just kind of floats around on the plastic, that's perfectly fine. We're just going to wipe it off. It's okay if epoxy gets on the plastic. So now once you've completed that, you are going to very carefully place it on the tumbler. My tumbler was just a little bit not sticky, but I was kind of impatient for this part because I was on a time crunch making this. So my tumbler wasn't like completely dry. I had like a couple days to make this for a closing for a home. So that's why I kept sticking, though the plastic kept sticking to the tumbler. But carefully place it on. Epoxy did get on my hands, so guys, please make sure you wear your gloves. I totally wasn't expecting the epoxy to like leak out of the bottom and get on my hand like it did. So please wear gloves when you do this part. But you're going to push it down hard as you can to snap it into place, and then you will have some excess that will kind of leak out, you know, once you pop it on in there, and you're just going to wipe it off with a paper towel. And make sure you get any of that residue off. Again, you want to make sure you firmly push the plastic down. You are going to put something heavy on this upside down, just like we have it, to where it'll set up. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish wiping off any excess that I have around the rim. of the cup because we don't want that to get hard around the rim. We want to go ahead and wipe it off now and not use our crafting knife later to try to take any of the excess epoxy off like we would on a regular tumbler, because we would risk scratching the plastic. So make sure you get all of the residue off of the plastic to where we don't scratch it up later. Alrighty, so now we've had it's something heavy sitting on top for about anywhere between 6 to 8 hours. I always go for 12, like something overnight, or 12 hours. So now we have to fill the hole at the top. And to do so, I use a glue gun, and I literally just fill it up until I can't fill it up anymore. Now for this part, it doesn't matter when you do this step. You can do this step first before you spray paint. You can do it second after your epoxy. It really does not matter. I just tend to do it last. I don't know why. I guess just my preference. But you just want to make sure you fill it up all the way to the top until, like I said, you can't fill it up anymore. And just be careful not to get the little stringies all over the place once you pull back on the glue gun. So just try to keep the glue guns, like the tip of it, inside of the opening there, to where, you know, you can not have as many stringies. I was struggling here trying to get it on camera, but trying to get another glue stick inside of the gun to where it'll melt. So yeah, I was having to use both of my hands trying to get it close to me. So yeah, sorry about that. But anyways, you want to go ahead and finish that part and give it just a few minutes for it to cool down before you go to the next part. Then after that, once you're all done, you want to make sure to just clean up around the bottom where you place the glue. Just make sure it doesn't have like any excess glue around it. Then we can move on to the next step after you just kind of let it sit and cool off for a minute. What you'll need for the next part is you're going to need some glycerin, some distilled water, and of course the glitters that you're going to be using. I'm using Rose Opal Gold and Athena from Peachy Olive Glitters. You've seen me use these before in another tutorial. So yeah, I'm going to use those two. One's like a chunky mix and the other one is a finer glitter. So I have these little syringes from Walgreens because I have 3 kids, and yeah, so I already have these on hand. If you don't have them, you can just kind of pour it into the cup, but I like these because it just kind of relieves some mess. So I used 30 milliliters of glycerin in all. I put my glycerin in first. It's a personal preference, but just kind of doing them, I like to put it in first because when you put the glycerin at the top, your glitter, depends on when you put your glitter in. If you put your glitter in last, the glitter is just going to kind of sit on top of the glycerin. So I didn't like that because all the glitter was just literally at the top while I'm trying to epoxy and, seal everything together. But it doesn't really matter how you want to do it. You can put your glycerin, glitter, and water like I did, or you could put your water and then glitter and then glycerin. So you just kind of play around with it and see what you like best. But as you can see, I'm just kind of putting glycerin on one side, letting it get settled down to the bottom. And then I place glycerin on the other side and let it do the same thing. Alrighty, so now we're ready for the glitter. I added 30 milliliters of glycerin inside of the snow globe tumbler, and now I'm going to add my glitter. I didn't measure it. I just eyeballed it and just added what I felt like I I guess, wanted to have for this tumbler. You can add as much as you want, as little as you want. You don't have to add anything if you don't want. So I wanted to add some gold, and then now I'm going to add the rose gold or opal rose gold to give it a little pink shimmer to it. So yeah, you can add as much as you want. You can add one type of glitter. You can add 5 different color glitters. It is all up to you. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the distilled water to the top of it. I didn't measure out how much water I added. I literally just, finished and topped it off with the distilled water. I like to add it right as you get close to the ledge of the cup. I don't like to go too far over because I am going to add the epoxy to it. So I don't want the water and the epoxy to possibly mix. So I literally just added right to where it's about to, come over the edge, as you must say. So that's it. I probably would say it's probably about the same, like 30 milliliters to about 25 milliliters of water that was added. So now you're just going to kind of scoop off your little pieces of glitter that didn't make it into the cup, and just clean off around the plastic, the rim of it, to where, if any glycerin got around it, you want to wipe it off. As you can see here, I'm just, wiping off any oils that may have gotten on there, because epoxy and oil does not mix, and you want to make sure you have a nice seal to where there's not going to be anything leaking, no glycerin, no water leaking out of it once you go to seal it. Alrighty, so after that, I have my epoxy already mixed. I believe I just mixed about 5 milliliters of epoxy for this, 2.5 milliliters of part A and 2.5 milliliters of part B. And I mixed them together until they were a clear, clear consistency with no bubbles in it. It doesn't matter if you do have bubbles. You're not going to see it. You're just using this to seal it off. But you're going to add some epoxy in the middle. And then you're going to add it around the edges of the bottom of, where I'm placing the epoxy. Cannot get my words together. Sorry, y'all. Excuse me. But you want to make sure to not add too much. I started to add way too much in this, but then afterwards, off camera, I took some of it out because I was starting to add way too much. If you add too much, this cup is upside down with liquid epoxy. So if you add too much, the epoxy is going to drip downwards into your tumbler, into the cup where you can actually see it, where, the glitter and the water is. So you want to make sure just to add enough where it'll seal the cup, but not like overdo it. Hopefully that makes sense. But anywho, you're going to just continue to add some epoxy, smear some around, as you can see, like the edge of the outer layer of the cup. I don't know what they call it. It's just around the bottom of it, so you can have a nice seal. And again, I went and I took some of this out. I felt like at the end I added way too much. I went to go put the bottom onto it, and I said, you know what? I need to take some of this out. So I did. But anyways, after you have done that part, you're going to go ahead and carefully screw on the bottom to the tumbler. Give it a nice tug and just squeeze it as tight as you can, but not super. Once you feel like it has little or to no resistance, then stop, because you don't want to risk cracking it by doing it way too tight. So once you feel it has just slightly no resistance, then just go ahead and stop, because the epoxy will do the rest. Okay. So now you're going to go ahead, and if there is some excess, clean it up from around it. And you're going to go ahead and place something heavy on top of this again. I used a big pickle jar and placed it on top. You can add books or whatever it is that you like, but that's pretty much it. And you're going to let that dry again overnight or for about 12 hours. And you got yourself a snow globe tumbler. So here we are. This is the ending result of our snow globe tutorial. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up if it helps you out at all. If you have any other tips and tricks, please put them in the comments below. I'd love to hear some feedback. I also upload videos every Tuesday, so please hit that subscribe button to where you don't miss a video. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you missed our last video, click the icon to the right.